Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my silent and sneaky casino heist guide. In this video I'll be showing you how to complete the silent and sneaky heist without alerting the cops and not even taking any damage, so you can take the full take home. Now, since all the heists have a lot of familiarities in between them in terms of prep missions, I'm going to be using previous footage from the previous heist guides that I did because it's literally the exact same thing. Having said that though, if you have to watch the big con guide already, what you want to be doing is you want to go to the following timestamps for new information that you'll be looking for this specific heist. First, of course, we want to be looking into the crew we're going to be picking, starting off with the gunman. Now, the gunman you want to be taking for this one is going to be Carl, which only takes 5%. He has two options for guns, which is either the micro SMG or the machine pistol. Both aren't great guns, but if you're going to make a choice between the two, the micro SMG is going to be your best friend. Reason being is because it has 4 additional bullets in the mag and it will make your life a little bit easier just in case stuff goes south. Using any of the other gunmen is also possible, but personally I don't really think it's worth the money. Mainly because if you're following my tutorial, all you will need is a stun gun and a pistol. Secondly is the driver, which will be taking Kareem for. He only takes 5% and he has the option for some very nice cars such as the Sentinel Classic, which we will be using. And thirdly is the hacker. Now the hacker is something you want to be taking Avi Schwartzman for, or Page if you don't have him. If you want to unlock Avi Schwartzman, you need to collect all 50 signal jammers. Now luckily for you, I do have a guide on this, which I will link in the eye in the sky in the top right of the video, which will guide you to a guide that I have done on it so you can collect all 50. This won't be taking longer than an hour or two, and you'll be able to have even more time inside of the vault, which is going to be very vital. More on that a little bit later. So once you pick your crew, it's time to go and do the prep missions. Now, a couple of important things. If you want to do these prep missions as quick and as effective as possible, having another friend with you will be extremely beneficial and will make your life a lot easier. Having said that though, if you don't have this, playing all these prep missions solo is entirely possible. You don't actually need another person, it's just a lot more convenient. The only time you're actually going to need someone in order to progress is going to be during the finale. For the very simple reason that if you don't have another player, you won't even be able to start the finale. So with that in mind, the footage you're going to see has been played with 2 players in mind. The only difference that you're going to experience doing this solo is that sometimes you're going to have to go back and forth twice in order to get all the collectibles. Like for example with the getaway vehicles, because you're going to have to collect 2. And yes, you are able to do all this stuff in private sessions. You don't have to be in public sessions in order to do both the prep missions and the finale. So that's a very nice thing about this heist. Alright, so let's get into the prep missions themselves and the tips I have for them. Starting off with the 2 missions that you don't need to do at all, which is the mask mission and the power drills. Reason being is that the mask you will just get by the mission itself, and the power drill you won't need because you're going to be using the vault laser. And another one could be the EMP device, but I'm gonna put that as a maybe. The reason for that is because the EMP device could be a backup in case stuff is going not as smooth as you would want to. In order to use the EMP, what you need to do is you need to call it in through your phone. Now this will give you an entire minute of blackout where no one will be able to see you, as well as the cameras will be disabled. Personally, I don't think you need this if you're following my guide, but if you feel like it's something that you would want to have to be maybe a little bit more comfortable, then it's something that you could do. But the mission itself is rather annoying. Luckily though, I have some tips for it, which we'll be touching on a little bit later. First of course is going to be the unmarked weapons, and you want to be picking the micro SMG loadout for the reasons that I've explained before at the beginning of the video. And the same thing goes for the getaway vehicles if you pick Kareem, because there's 4 different options that you can choose. The best option for you is going to be the Sentinel Classic. Once you have picked up the Sentinel Classic or any of the other getaway vehicles and delivered it to your arcade, what you want to do is you want to get into the vehicle and then press the right D-pad on console or E on PC. Then you will see a menu which will allow you to upgrade the car. Now what you want to do there is upgrade it to level 3. You could also decide to just go for level 1, which is definitely the bare minimum, but the difference is like 15k, and honestly for the 15 extra k you're going to get more speed and you're going to be able to just deliver your stuff quicker and start the next heist quicker as well. But it's entirely up to you. I would highly advise you though to at least get the bulletproof tires at level 1. It's going to be a lifesaver. And if you want, you could make your life a little bit easier by respraying the car as well, so you can recognize which car you want to use. Because if you were going to be doing a 2-player scenario, what you want to do is you want to only upgrade that one car, and specifically the green one I mentioned. Reason being is pretty simple. The green Sentinel Classic on the back of the car has some protection, which means that if you do get into a messy situation, the chances of you getting shot from behind and losing value are a lot smaller. The other car does not have this, and this is the precise reason why you're only going to be upgrading this car, and while you're doing the finale, both of you will be getting in that car and simply just ignoring the other car, because first of all, you didn't upgrade it, and second of all, driving with 2 cars is just asking for trouble. Next up is the hacking device, which is a pretty basic mission. All you need to do is you need to go to the location, find the target, kill him, and then get the pass for him where you can then access the news headquarters. Now, personally, I've tried many times to do this stealthily, but it just always seems to happen that they spot you and you get cops on you anyway, so personally I'd say don't really bother. So when you do get cops on you, it really is just a better idea to just immediately go to the news headquarters. It will save you a bunch of time, and on your way there you should be able to lose cops pretty easily. Pro tip, by the way, since Lester is not going to work in these prep missions, the easiest way to really lose cops is either by going into the sewers or just simply going as high up in the air as you can. If you have an Oppressor Mark II like myself, it's very easy to just go very high up and then parachute down if you want to go down very quickly. Once you reach the news headquarters, you just simply want to head in and try to stay as stealthy as possible. It really makes your life a lot easier, and it's not that hard to avoid all the people that are looking out for you. In order to find the hacking device, you need to open your phone and then go to the bottom right where you'll be using the Sightseer app. The closer you get to the hacking device, the stronger the signal will get, and it's just a matter of finding the hacking device while avoiding all the targets and all the cameras. And of course you are able to shoot down cameras and personnel with suppressed weapons. Next up is the vault keys. Now the vault keys, there's multiple different ways of how this mission is going to play out in terms of what kind of scenarios, which is the same thing with all the other prep missions, but this one in particular I want to highlight, which is the one where you have to go and get the prison bus. Now luckily for you, you don't actually have to get the prison bus, which will save you a vast amount of time. What you can do is you can immediately go to the prison and then take out the target. Now the unfortunate part about this is that you're going to be having some very heavy cop resistance, so grabbing a sniper to snipe the target from afar or using an RPG or a buzzer to take down the target with one shot is just something that is really worth considering, especially because there is a lot of heavy snipers on the towers which will tear you to shreds if you don't watch out. So that's another pro tip for you. If you're going towards that tower, watch out for any of the other guards. They will shoot you down, and as soon as you're dead, you're gonna have a very difficult time trying to get back into that prison because there will be a constant 4-star wanted level on you. It's not fun, and I speak from experience, so try to get in, get out as quick as possible. If you happen to die or you don't really have anything to get you up the tower right away, right here is a door where you can go through, and then you can go up the ladder and still get to that bodyguard you just shot down. Next up, we're going to be diving into optional prep work. First up is the patrol routes. Now the patrol routes is a very important one to do if you want to be very successful with your finale heist. Reason being is that if you do the patrol heist optional mission, you'll be able to see where exactly the guards are going and where they're located while doing the finale. Really useful. Now this prep work is always in a different location, however the car that you need to search is always the same and always has the same license plate as well, which means that if you're looking in the location that I'm in right now, the car will also still be in the same location at all times. It is possible to do this mission stealthy, however in my case it was a little bit weird how I was just opening the trunk and it probably heard that sound and then it was over and it started shooting at me. But in case you do want to try and do this stealthy, I'm showing you 2 routes which I think are the best ways to go about this one. Although I have to admit that I personally think that going in loud and quick is probably much better than just trying to do it stealth. Do be careful with explosives though, that you don't blow up the car, or else you're gonna have to start over with the mission. Next up is Duggan Shipments, which is arguably the most important one that you're going to do. The reason for that is because if you don't do this, you'll be facing enemies in the finale with bulletproof helmets, making stealth basically impossible. The whole idea behind this mission is pretty simple. For every target that you destroy, the enemies in the finale will become become weaker, and it's pretty easy to destroy all of them if you have a Hydra or any sort of fast vehicle that can take down targets very quickly. Preferably something like a Hydra or a laser will do you very nicely, or something like a bus door and oppressor will do you very well too. Just make sure you get all 10 of them to make sure that the finale is going to have enemies made of glass. Now the easiest way to do this in the form of a strategy with 2 players is that have one player go upwards to Blaine County and Paleto Bay and that sort of stuff, where the other person will be staying in Los Santos to take out those targets, and then whenever he or she is done, make their way back up to Blaine County to help you out with the others that you were doing. Doing this one solo is possible, but you will have to go very quickly. If you do this one with 2 players, it will literally be a breeze. Next up is going to be the Nano Drone. Now the Nano Drones is not really a particularly difficult mission to do. The only tip I could really give you is not to try and bother trying to shoot this down with lock-on missiles, because you will always miss. Instead, what you want to do is you want to grab your heavy sniper and just simply shoot it down from where it's flying. Typically it does a little square movement, but it doesn't seem to be moving too far away from its destination where it currently is. It's not very difficult to shoot down. If it moves, just give it a second and it will stand still again, so you can easily shoot it down. And also make sure, of course, that when you do shoot it down, you pick it up, or else it will not count. Next up is the vault lasers. Now for this one, you want to be bringing an armored vehicle, because they are going to shoot at you with some very big guns. Preferably what you would want to do is bring in a Kula, shoot all the targets down, and then go into stealth mode. Because if you go into stealth mode, you will instantly go down to 2 stars. But if you don't have something like an Akula, what you could do instead is use a buzzard and basically use those lock-on missiles to snipe all the enemies on the ground. Do make sure to stay as far away from them as possible, because they are quite accurate and their guns are very lethal. Once you have killed all the enemies, you want to make sure that you quickly grab the vault laser, because if you don't, you're going to be looking like me in the gameplay. And trust me, you're going to be spawn trapped. They're going to kill you repeatedly until you cry for help, and you will keep crying for help until you finally get a moment to breathe and get out of there, or your teammate will finally come and rescue you. And staying on the topic of heavy resistance, we're going to be looking into the Infiltrator Suits right now, because that mission is going to be in either of 3 locations. It's either going to be in Meriwether HQ, the Humane Labs, or at Fort St. Kudo. The last one being the worst option that you could possibly get, because guess what? You're going to have some tanks after you. So just like with the vault laser, what you want to do is you want to stay back as far as possible, or go on the stealth route. You want to avoid those heavy vehicles as much as you want, because they will tear you to bits. So before you go in, make sure that everyone is dead before you pick up the Infiltration Suits. And if you're wondering why we're picking up these Infiltration Suits, because it's an optional mission, there's a very good reason for it. Using the Infiltrator Suits will allow you to skip an entire floor during the finale, as well as giving you night vision goggles so you can see if you were to be using the EMP. Having said that though, you don't actually need the night vision goggles, because if you don't do this mission and you do use the EMP, the game will still give you night vision goggles by default. And speaking of the EMP, the mission that is actually optional and I marked as a maybe, I'm still going to give you some tips about them in case you want to do it, because you're gonna have to use a cargo bomb to pick up an EMP device. Now the cargo bomb isn't particularly fast, and especially when you got 4-star wanted level after you and police helicopters trying to shoot you down, it's not going to be an easy task. However, what you want to be doing is the following. When you picked up the EMP and making your way to the water plant, you want to go to the downtown buildings, where you will guide the police helicopters inside of that building, meaning they will fly into the building and they will leave you alone. Doing so will basically immediately trigger you losing your wanted level, and all you gotta do at that point is just basically avoid the ground cars. Obviously, it could be possible that there's still a helicopter spawning, so do keep an eye on your radar. This downtown area with all the buildings is literally going to be your lifesaver to try and lose these helicopters, so make sure to utilize them as much as you can. And then last but most certainly not least is going to be the security pass. All you want to do for this one really is just making sure you got a level 2 pass by seeing this following image, as well as this confirmation screen asking you if you want to steal the security pass level 2. A little tip for a mission I happened to come across while I was recording this, by the way, is the dance party you have to infiltrate. It's pretty simple, and you can even use the interaction menu in order to start dancing at random locations to keep your suspicion down. The target you want to be looking for is always going to be passed out on the ground. This is always a random target, and the picture you'll be getting from Lester is a good enough indication to see which person you're after. And every single time you're funneling someone who is not really noticing that you're doing so, will not have to pass on them, and the pass will be on the table at the end of the swimming pool. And with all the prep missions done, I want to go over the payouts for a little bit and kind of go over the percentages and why exactly we chose the things that we did. Primarily the hacker. Now the hacker is definitely the most important choice you're going to make within this heist. The hacker is essentially the time that you will get inside of the vault. Giving you some examples, Avi will be giving you 3 minutes and 30 seconds in order to grab everything that you can, while Paige, for example, will be giving you 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Compared to the 1 minute 45 seconds that you'll be giving to the wannabe hacker man Ricky, which will only be taking 3%. In case of a full take, the difference in cost between Avi and Ricky is a total of $184,000. Now you might be thinking this is quite a lot, however you're getting nearly 2 minutes more to take as much as you can, which is going to be a huge lifesaver, and in the end is going to net you a lot more profit than that $148,000 is worth. Now if you don't have Avi or you don't want to bother going for him, the difference in time between Avi and Paige is going to be about 15 seconds, and the difference in price is going to be $20,000. And you might think that 15 seconds, what I'm going to do in that? Well, actually those 15 seconds are going to be very valuable, because in case you didn't know yet, there's 3 different options for you to grab when you're in the vault, which is going to be art, gold and cash. Now these 3 all have different amount of time that you need in order to grab everything. For art this is going to be 18 seconds, for gold it's going to be 25 seconds, and for cash it's going to be 38 seconds. Now these 15 seconds can be very vital while you're in the middle of trying to grab the last bit of cash or gold or art and you're having to get out of there. Speaking of having to get out of there, what you want to keep an eye on is that the clock is hitting 30 seconds. You really want to grab the last few things and get out of the vault as fast as possible, because if you don't, your covering is going to get blown and everything is going to be a lot more difficult than it needs to be. So in my personal opinion, it is very much worth it to go and unlock Avi as well as using him in the heist, because those 15 seconds can definitely be a lifesaver, and the $21,000 really isn't that big of an investment compared to Paige. So with all that in mind, it's time to start doing the finale. Now there's one thing that is really important that you do when setting up the finale, and that is the entrance. You should be picking either the north or the south helipad, or else you won't be able to use the rappelling down. The exit doesn't really matter, but typically I stick with waste disposal because I know it's a good exit to go with. So once it is set up, it's time to head to the casino, but first before you do that, you have to go and make your way to the cargo bob, which will bring you up to the sky, and then it's time to parachute. Now in the parachuting section, you don't have to worry about pulling out the parachute at the right time, because the game will do that for you automatically. The only thing you want to be starting to do whenever you're using your parachute is pulling in your legs at this exact moment. And while you're doing so, you want to be aiming for the helipad itself. Reason being is because there's no cameras pointed towards that, and once you land it, you can easily make your way to the camera that is above the door, which you can take out from above. Once you've taken out the camera, you just simply want to head into the door, and then you want to start rappelling down. So once you come out of the elevator shaft and inside of the lobby, there's something you have to keep an eye on right away. On your radar you will see these red dots with these blue cones. These blue cones indicate the field of vision of the enemies that are trying to spot you. So of course what you want to do is you want to stay out that blue cone as much as possible, as well as from the cameras, which are indicated by the tiny red things on your minimap as well. Now just to be extra clear, you are able to take out every camera with a stun gun, but there is a limited amount of time that you're able to keep it down. So if you're taking the camera down, make sure that you keep an eye on your minimap that it doesn't turn on again, and if you want to be extra sure, you can give it another stun so that it resets the timer. Now if you want to be successful in this heist finale, you're going to need some team communication, because there's going to be instances within this heist where enemies are next to each other and you're gonna have to take them out at the same time. Obviously the most easiest way to do that is by going from a count to 3. So now it's time for the route. Once you're in the lobby, take out the first guy and then take out the 2 guys at the end of the hallway. Once those 2 guys are taken out, you want to take out the guy behind the desk. And then a quick note about this one, you can't shoot through this window and you're not able to use a key card on this one, so make sure to kill this guy through the window. Once you've done that, you want to move on to the next one and kill the guy that is walking away from you. And keep in mind there's also a camera on your right. Moving on, you want to make sure that you're using the staircase, and while you're going down, watch out for this guy right here, because he can spot you, so make sure to turn around the corner and give him a quick pop in the head. Walking down, you will see another camera, so make sure to stun that with your stun gun so it's disabled and you can safely move past it. Once you're downstairs, you want to get out and take a left where there will be another set of 2 guys which you want to be taking out again at the same time. Once those 2 guys are down, you want to take a quick breather and then make sure that no one is coming your way. Then take out the camera which is behind you. And watch out for the guy coming towards you and immediately take him out. Then you can take out the 2 guys behind the desk, as well as the camera on your left. Another guy on your right as you move out, as well as the camera which you also want to be taking down, because those 2 cameras both will spin around in a 360 degrees, so make sure to keep an eye out for that one. Once you've taken out those 2 cameras and you got past that, there will be another guard on your left. You want to be using your keycard for this one to open a door, then sneak in and give the guy behind the desk a kiss on his forehead. Once you're done with that, you successfully gotten past the stealth section of this mission, and it's time to start cracking the vault. Now, quick thing about the vault laser, what you want to do is you want to stay as high as possible in terms of heat, and then simply just keep pressing the button in order to go through it as quickly as possible. There's not really any point in trying to keep the temperature as low as possible or keep it steady, because that simply will just take too much time and there's really not much point in it. Just make sure it doesn't overheat and you'll be fine. And once you're finally in the vault, what I personally like to do is have someone immediately go for the hacking while the other person immediately starts grabbing stuff. When the hacker man or woman is done with hacking, that person that is grabbing everything can immediately go into the other area that you just unlocked and grab even more. In the case of the gameplay you're seeing, we happen to have gold and we were going so quickly that I could have been able to just literally grab everything, but I didn't want to risk it. Looking back, I could have easily grabbed everything and it would have been very sweet to just walk away with the full take with 2 players. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Now, most of the time with 2 players, you're not able to take everything with you, but it still doesn't matter, especially because with 2 players, you'll still be making more money than with 3 or 4 players taking everything. On your screen, you will see exactly what I mean with that. And while you're in the vault, time is going to be of the essence. So with that in mind, allow me to explain how the hacking works, because there's 2 different hacks you could get. Now, in the case of the fingerprint scanner, every single time you're doing it, it's going to be in a different order. There's a total of 4 different fingerprints that you can do, and each of these 4 fingerprints all have 8 options for you to choose from. The pieces will always be the same, however they will always be in a different order. So in order to make your life easy, you can look on your screen and see which ones you have to grab. The second hacking option is the keypad cracker. Now this one is a little bit different, because you just simply need to look out for the patterns that are showing up on your screen when you hear the following 3 beeps. So once you grabbed as much as you could and you're still a little bit salty that you didn't manage to grab everything, it's time to start heading out of the vault. Once you're back in the main room, 2 enemies will have spawned and they will making their way to the opposite side of where you're coming from, and the 2 cameras will be active again. What you want to do is you want to make sure that at least the right camera is disabled before you move further. Once that camera is disabled, you want to make your way to the next hallway, where in the middle of the hallway there will be another camera. In the gameplay, that's on my right. You can either decide to simply ignore it and just watch the blue cone on the minimap, or you can just decide to take it out. My personal preference went for just passing it to reduce risk. Another thing to keep in mind here as well is that the blue cones can mix in with each other, so do keep a close eye on that so you don't get confused. Sticking to the left, there should be a guy in the front of the elevator where you want to take cover, quickly pop out and shoot him in the head. Luckily he didn't spot me, and it seems to be that as long as they don't shoot and start screaming out things, you won't get spotted. Obviously this was a little bit more risky to do, but in the next one I made sure that the enemy was not looking at me. From there you want to go back into the staircase and watch out for the camera, which is right above you as soon as you get out. And if you're wondering what's happening in the gameplay, my character was kind of spazzing out. Once you make your way all the way to the top, it's time to start avoiding some more enemies, and there isn't really an awful lot. Luckily for you though, there will be an enemy coming towards you, and what you want to do is you want to take him out as he's on your right. However, the first time I tried to do that, he immediately walked back again, so make sure to keep an eye on that and how fast he's moving. Also, if your teammate decides to go out and the door closes, it will be closed for him, so be nice, open the door for him again. Then once the guy is back again, it's time to give him a tap on the shoulder and then move on to the locker room, which you will be taking in order to avoid the camera in the hallway. When you're out of the hallway, you want to make sure that you keep a close eye on the guy moving in another room, but he doesn't seem to be coming in the room you're currently in, but it is worth going back in the locker room to make sure that you don't get spotted. Once you walk out of that hallway, on your right there will be another camera, so make sure to take that out before you pass it. The other guards you don't really have to take out, it's a little bit of a risk, so don't really bother, just make him pass. Also, if you're going through the metal detector like I am, make sure that you don't have your weapon out, because it will go off. Surprisingly enough, even though it did go off for us, no guards were alerted. This might be a bug or this might be lucky. Don't take the risk and put away your weapon before you walk through it. After that, it's time to walk out the door and make our way to the getaway vehicles. Now if you watch the big con video, it's in a different location than the last time, but don't worry, this will mean that I will also be showing off the different location and the different route you could be taking. This one we're going to be taking the sewers for, and it's pretty simple. Just head down to the sewers and just keep following the route until you're on the other side of the tunnel. Once you're at the end of the tunnel, you have not yet lost the cops. What you want to do is you want to wait in this position until you lose them. No cops will come in here because officially you're not even recognized. Once the cops are gone, you want to head out of the tunnel, but make sure you stop before you actually get out, because a quick look to the left and a quick look to the right did save my life, so it is a good idea that you do the same thing. Now in case of the other routes, you do the same thing as you get out of the casino. However, when you reach the vehicles, you can immediately go to the buyer if you would want to. In the gameplay I'm showing off right now, the buyer for me was in Pledo Bay, which is also pretty nice because if you're taking the route I am, you also will pass the train tunnels, which is also an excellent location to ensure that you lose the cops. In terms of the routing I'm taking as much hills and mountains as I possibly can and avoid as many roads as I possibly can. This way you will just avoid all the cops and you should be able to lose the 5 stars before you even reach the train tunnel. If it happens to be that you do get caught, that train tunnel will be a blessing in disguise, so if you do keep the 5 stars, you will be safe in that train tunnel, don't you worry. Just simply wait in there and you'll be alright. And that is all there is to it. Leave a like if you enjoyed and found it useful, subscribe for more, and I'll see you all later.